YouTube, what's happening? It's your boy BioSpider 3.0 back with not really a review, but more of a showcase. This is long overdue, guys. Sorry it took me so long. I had some things to take care of, but I am finally here to deliver on my custom video for the Dino Thunder White Ranger from the Lightning Collection. So here he is, as you see, standing before you. Oh wow, his helmet just fell. Sorry, I've had some trouble trying to keep that in his arm. But anyways, um, I've been working on this guy for like a minute, man. I started customizing him like back in 2020, and I just kept kind of like picking it up and like starting back. I never I wasn't like working on him on a very consistent basis, and so he was kind of like an experiment for me, man, because he's my first custom ever. So I was like trying out a bunch of different things, trying to see what worked and what didn't. But and I learned a lot. So I'm really happy with the way he turned out, and I've definitely learned a lot. Moving forward, that I can apply to future figures. So yeah, so it won't be so much of a hassle because there's definitely some things that worked for this guy and didn't work, and I had to like go back and like fix them and just make little changes here and there. But anyways, I thought to kind of kick off this video, I'll show you all the materials that I used, like to customize them first. I'm gonna show you the stuff that I would recommend that you don't use because they ended up kind of making trouble for me, and like mistakes and stuff that I had to go back and fix later. So I'm going to show you all the stuff that you're probably going to want to stay away from first. And then after that, I'll show you the stuff that I would recommend that you do use if you want to do like a similar type of custom. So let's go ahead and start. I'll show you back here. So originally my plan was to just kind of extend the striping on his costume because the original figure from Hasbro, they kind of stopped the lines, or like the spike pattern kind of more on the side of like his legs and arms, and I just felt like they weren't fully how do you say, like elongated, like to be show accurate. So I basically just wanted to kind of expand on those spikes and have it look a little more prominent in his costume. And so what I did was basically just take like a mechanical pencil. Forgot to bring it down here, but I took a mechanical pencil and basically just kind of like sketched out where I wanted the spikes on his suit to go to. And in order to do that, I basically just took like a Google image, which particularly like this one right here, which kind of shows like a front, side, and back view of him. And I basically just kind of use that as like a reference to sketch on the figure where I wanted the spike patterns to go. And so you can kind of see. See, I'll just move him aside for a quick second. Hope he doesn't fall. Just gonna move him to the side here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I used oh, wow. I used I used this Google image right here, which again shows like a side, front and back image of him, and I just kind of used that as like my reference of where I wanted those spikes to go. So that's pretty much all I did. And then so yeah, I sketched those out with the mechanical pencil, and then as far as like actually coloring in the black, I used this deco color marker. I was looking at people like other customizers on YouTube that were doing like some customizations to him, and a lot of them were using like stuff like this, like deco color, fine tip pins and stuff like that. So I think I picked this one up off of like eBay or something for probably pretty cheap. I don't really remember how much it was, but it's not, I'm pretty sure it wasn't too expensive, or else I wouldn't have bought it. But yeah, it says opaque paint marker, deco color, extra fine. So you can probably find these anywhere at like eBay, Amazon, probably even like a art store, like a local art store or something like that. And there's like the little what do you call that? The little item CPU thing right there. But yeah, so in case you want to pick that up, but I would suggest that you don't use this one because what I didn't realize, I thought this was like an acrylic paint. So, I thought like once it dried, um, it wasn't going to leave a mess or anything. Like it wasn't going to be sticky or anything like that. Turns out that I think this particular marker has like a oil type base to it. So it ended up making like a sticky mess on Trent, and so I like the black started coming off, like sticking to my fingers, and then I would touch him, and then the black would get on the white, and it just made a big mess. So I would suggest you probably want to stay away from this one. That's just my suggestion. And then for the white part, I really was just gonna leave it alone. I didn't really have any plans to touch like the white part on him. Because I was pretty happy with the white that they used, Hasbro from on the original figure. So the only time I really like used white, which I used this one right here, this white Molotov One for All. Pretty good, acrylic paint pen. Doesn't really make any mess. Like once it dries, it dries. It's not really sticky or anything like that Deco Color Black. So I would maybe recommend you use this one. I think the only thing where I ran into trouble is that I was using these to paint up those what do you call them, Shapeways Legacy swords, because those were the swords that I was originally intending to use for him for this custom, and so I was using those to paint up those swords or using this pen, and at first it worked out pretty well. I think I made the mistake of kind of pressing down too hard on the tip of the pen to try to get some of the paint to come out, and that ended up making this kind of like bleed from the cap. Like it started just turning into a mess. Same thing kind of happened with the Deco Color Black too. So you definitely don't want to press down too hard when you're trying to get the paint out of these pens. You just want to kind of shake them up, get the paint nice and loose, and then just give it a light press onto like some paper or something when you're trying to get the paint out, just to test it out. But yeah, I did see this. Somebody used this in a review. I'll try to put all the reviews, all the reviewers that I saw, as much as I can remember. I'll try to put the videos that I watched in the description. Put a link for them so you can check their reviews out as well, because they gave me a lot of ideas and tips for painting my figure. So but yeah, I would suggest. I mean, I think this is pretty good. You just want to, make sure you don't make the mistake that I did of pressing down, too hard on the paper to, end up making this bleed. You definitely don't want any bleeding. So eventually, this kept bleeding and was kind of like drying out on me. So I decided. I mean, luckily, I think I had enough paint to like paint the swords. So by the time this ran out, I think I was okay. But you probably just want to be safe if you're going to use this type of pen. Just make sure you don't make that mistake that I did. But yeah, so the white on him was originally untouched. I'll bring him back into view here, and there he is, Mr. Trent. All right, so yeah, originally I left the white alone, and after I was happy with all the black parts, I used this Mod Podge sealer that I got at Walmart, pretty cheap. I think it was like probably like less than $10. It's like a matte acrylic sealer, clear acrylic sealer, you can see right there. And yeah, I heard that I was looking at reviews. I was trying to find a very good sealer for my paint, something that was going to seal the paint in well and not have it come off in your hands or anything while you're playing with it. And I know, I saw videos, a lot of people were recommending like Mod Podge and, this particular sealer. And, they said this is the spray-on can, of course. And there's also like a glue version that you can, apply with like a paintbrush. So I decided to go with the spray-on version. I just thought it would be easier. And this probably is a pretty good sealer, but again, I messed up. I'm new to this, so I didn't really know what I was doing. And when I first applied this Mod Podge spray to him, I didn't really know like what was a safe distance to really like spray him with. Like I think I ended up spraying him too close, is why I say that. And I put way too much on him because I thought you had to put a lot, to like really seal in the paint, because it's like a clear acrylic sealer. So I sprayed like a bunch on him. I think I had him like laying down on my desk. I just sprayed like a bunch on him, flipped him over, sprayed the back, got the sides pretty good too, and then I let him dry. And for a while, like once it all dried and everything, he looked pretty good. And then I started playing around with him, and I noticed that he started to get this like cloudy look to him, like especially over the white parts, and it kind of like ruined the look of him. Like, before you knew it, all the white parts basically looked like gray and just dirty and stuff. He just looked like really dirty, basically, and it just kind of like ruined the figure, like the look of him. And so I was like, oh man. So I had to figure out a way to fix that. And so I was like, okay, I'm probably gonna have to just end up giving him a full repaint, and which is basically what I ended up doing. So I ended up taking like a paper clip or something and trying to scratch off as much of the old Mod Podge Stiller on him that I could. Unfortunately, that wasn't the smartest idea. I didn't really know what else to use to like scratch it off. Like I tried using my fingernails, but that only worked so well. And when I was using that paper clip, I ended up kind of like scratching a bunch of marks on his torso. And so I was like, oh man, like it made like a bunch of ugly scratch marks on him. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to do a full repaint. And so I had to figure out what white I was gonna use on him. And I found this one on Amazon. This is a Vallejo model color white acrylic color, and it's really good. I would say like it's I wasn't really sure. I was trying to get as close to what Hasbro used on their figure. I don't know like what white paint they used for the figure, but I was trying to get as close to that as possible, and I wanted to make sure it was a very like good white, not like a off white or a beige or anything like that. And so yeah, I found this on Amazon, and it seemed like it was a nice bright white color, like a very true white. And so I went ahead and picked that up, and yeah, it turned out to be pretty good. I tested it out, obviously on paper to like see like the color of it, and I would say like honestly, it probably has like the same color or consistency of like Elmer's glue. Like it's a very white as you can see. Like you just look at him, like it's a very true white. It's not beige or off white or anything like that. So that turned out to work really well for me. So I used that to basically repaint all the white on him, like the whole body, the shield, all of that. So here's a look at the back of him real quick, in case you're curious. That's what he looks like from the back. So yeah, I just repainted all the white on him, and then yeah, and then for the black parts, oh, I actually forgot to. I think I forgot to bring a few things in here. I'll be right back, guys. This is important. I'll be right back. Okay. Hopefully I didn't forget anything this time. I feel like I'm still forgetting something else, but guess we'll find out during this video. Put this over here. All right. So yeah, I was painting the black on him, and again, I was using that Deco Color paint pen that was like kind of sticky and just not a good paint to use for a figure like this. So I had to find a way to seal in that black really well, without it like sticking or coming off. And so I read an article online. Somebody was saying that a good sealer to use was, believe it or not, nail, not polish, but nail lacquer. This nail lacquer, I picked this up at Target, in the, obviously nail polish section. It's a nail lacquer. It's clear. It's got like a little brush, and you can apply it on pretty easily. And it actually worked pretty well. Like I put it over the black parts on him, and the only thing about it was that it gave him like a how do you say, like a glossy, like a very glossy look, like a glossy finish to him. So and like at first I kind of like that, like I like the black parts being like glossy on him, but you know I don't know. Like I ended up using like kind of like a more matte finish sealer like in the end. So I put that over. I ended up putting that over this lacquer, and that kind of gave him that nice matte looking finish again. So it wasn't super glossy. But I did use this. So depending on like what finish you want, you could use this. Like I would suggest maybe that you use this if you want to do that. There's probably better like things out there, but my main goal at that point was just trying to seal in the black. So I was like, I'm willing to do whatever as long as it's foolproof, and it just happened to leave a glossy finish on him. So at first I was okay with that, and then I ended up using a more matte sealer in the end. So but depending on what kind of finish you want, you can use this, or you can use. I think that pretty much finishes all the things that I would recommend maybe you don't use. Pretty much the only one that I would say you really don't want to use is the Deco Color Black that I showed in the beginning, because that one ends up making a mess. The Molotow One for All for white and the this lacquer and stuff, I think those are actually pretty good tools to use. So you can definitely use those if you like. So let me put those aside. Just be careful with the Mod Podge spray, of course. So yeah, when I went back and started kind of redoing the black parts and stuff, I decided to go with this one. This is another Deco Color marker, acrylic paint, you can see, but it is black. Well, yeah, well, they're both black, but this one, this one is purely acrylic, so it doesn't have like an oily base. That's what I meant to say. It doesn't really have like a oily, sticky base. Like this is like, regular acrylic paint. So when it dries, it's pretty much dry. It's not gonna stick or anything like that. It's not gonna come off unless you like really, you know, try to like pull it off or flake it with your hands or something like that. Um, Now like I said, I'm new to customizing. This is the first figure I've ever done. I believe you're supposed to prime your figures before you paint them, kind of like like a wall and stuff. I've painted plenty of walls, and usually you put primer on it first, and then you apply the paint. I think you're supposed to do that with figures as well, but I didn't even think to do that with this guy. I just was trying to get paint on him as soon as possible because I was trying to achieve that show accurate look. So you might want to prime your figure. I can't really give the best advice on that because I didn't do it, but I would suggest maybe like looking at videos of like priming figures and stuff, because I think in the end that would probably help you keep your paint like more sealed in and just having an overall better look in the end. So you might want to look into that. Just a suggestion. But anyways, yeah, when I went back over him for black, a non-sticky black, I used this Deco acrylic pen paint pen, and unfortunately I don't think I could find it in fine tip. So this is kind of like a thick, it's basically like the point of like an expo marker, so it's kind of like a thicker point tip on it. But I ended up using that mostly for his legs. This one was really good to like fill in the black spots on his legs, because it's like a wider, that's probably like the place that has the most black throughout all of his costume, like the widest area. So this pen definitely helped for that, kind of cover those areas quickly. And then also for the arms as well. So yeah, I used that. And then um, let's see, for those legacy swords that I painted up that I was intending to use for him originally, like here's the regular close mode right here, and then yeah, and then here's the extended mode right here of the Drago sword. For these, I used, for like the gold parts on these, I used a gold Gundam marker, which I believe I also got off like eBay. These should be like pretty cheap. You should be able to find these like just about anywhere at a pretty good price. So gold Gundam marker, this is really good for like Gunpla and stuff like that. Very nice gold color. So yeah, I would definitely suggest that for any gold if you want to touch that up on him. As far as like the figure is concerned, I pretty much left all the gold that Hasbro did because I was pretty happy with that. The only time I pretty much used this on the figure was like if I felt like I needed to go over it or made a mistake, like maybe I got some white on the gold that they had, I would just use this. Be aware that it is going to leave a little bit of a different finish than the gold that they have. It's going to be like a little bit darker, but it is what it is. I don't know exactly what gold they use, but that's just that's just what it is. But yeah, for these, and then for these legacy swords, Even though I'm not using them anymore, I guess you should probably know, how I did this. So I basically took, those legacy swords, those shapeways swords that I showed you in the in that video that I posted not too long ago. I took those, same legacy swords, shaved them down. Shout out to Anthony's Customs. I actually messaged him on Instagram, and he's very good at replying. And so, I asked him like 2 years ago when I first started this. I asked him what would be some good, tools to kind of sand, those swords down so that I could get them, to be not as thick. And he replied back and he said, basically just use like sign fine sandpaper, like a so I ended up using like fine sandpaper sponges. I think I have one in my room. Let me go check really quick. I think that's the thing I forgot to bring down here. I'll be right back. All right, my bad, guys. I can't find it. I don't know where I put it, but basically, I used a fine sandpaper sponge. You can probably find those. I would say like at Home Depot or like some kind of arts and crafts store, or just online. They were basically like these purple sponges, maybe about like that thick in dimensions, and they had I think one side was like rougher than the other, so I probably used like the less rough side, and then I basically just like shaved down the plastic on those shapeways swords until I got them to be like the dimensions that I wanted, nice and thin, like to be show accurate. Unfortunately, when I did that, I got rid of a lot of the sculpted detail that was on them originally, like to the point where they were basically just flat pieces of plastic. So I was like, oh man, like all that detail is gone now. So basically, I had to go back in and just kind of redraw in the details. So that's what I did. Took like a mechanical pencil again and just kind of like sketched in the lines like where they needed to go for the gold and uh, the black line down the middle, all that stuff, and just basically painted in where it should be. And yeah, like I said, I liked these for a long time. I was gonna use them for for him for my custom originally, but I decided they are kind of on the big side, and I was like, man, they look good, at least in my opinion, but I was like, I want a more show accurate version if I can get that, because that's the whole point of my custom, is trying to make him look as show accurate as possible. And so that's why I ended up customizing and painting the swords from that Dino Action White Ranger that I did a review on. However, that was probably like a month ago now. But yeah, so that's the one you see here in his holster. He's got the closed version right here in his holster. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and take it out so you can get a close look at it. Come on out of there, sword. Drago sword. Let's see here. Slide it out of his holster here. All right. I'm gonna put him to the side for just a second. And yeah, so here is the regular or pin mode of the Drago sword, all painted up. So yeah, this is from that Dino Action White Ranger figure that I did a review on. So yeah, I basically went over it with the white Vallejo that I just showed you, that white Vallejo color, and kind of went over the white parts, because the white that they had originally for these swords was like pretty like a very faded type of white, so it definitely wasn't like white enough to match him. So I went over it with the Vallejo white, and then I used like a gold Gundam marker to get all the gold spots. Um, I used like a I use a combination, mostly like a black Sharpie, but I also was using like a black micron pen to kind of get like the line down the center, and then the black parts for the handle, and then of course white for like this top part of the sword right here. Because originally this was all gold, pretty much like on the top of the sword, this was all gold. So I was using my Drago sword replica as like a reference, and there's supposed to be like white at the top here, so I painted that white. I'll show you. I used a red Sharpie to get like just like a regular red Sharpie. This came in like a 3-pack, but because I couldn't really find it like on its own, but you can get this at like Target or anything like that, um, Target or Staples. So yeah, use a red Sharpie to get in the red dot for the eyes on the Drago sword. So right there. Unfortunately, I kind of got crazy with the red part of his eye, and some of it kind of bled onto like that gold part. And so when I started putting white up there at the top, some of the red was like starting to bleed through and kind of showing. So in this one spot, it kind of has like a pinkish hue to it, to the top right there. And I kept trying to cover it with white, but some of it still ended up showing through. So couldn't do much about that, but I'll show you the other side. It's a little bit cleaner. But yeah, that's how I did that. Red Sharpie for the eyes. Added some white on top. Oh, and then yeah, the black micron pen, in case you want to use that, would be what looks like this. You can see I use a lot of different tools for this for this custom, man. So yeah, I want you to, if you want to do a similar custom, obviously I want to save you time and money. So I'm trying to basically steer you guys as to like what tools are good to use and what ones that you probably don't want to use. These microns are pretty good. I think the problem was like for me was just that I noticed after like using them a lot, especially like over like the painted parts on him, they started to kind of like go dry on me. I don't know why. Like maybe I just wasn't using them properly, but or maybe again I might have had that problem of like pressing down too hard to get like the ink or paint to come out, and so they started like run dry on me. And I got this in like a 4 or 5 pack. There's like multiple micron pins. And actually, like, it was a 3-pack. So there's like a 0.5 ending right here, which is this one, 0.05, which is like the thickest. There's a slightly smaller one, a 0.03 tip, and then a 0.01 tip. So one obviously being the thinnest. But yeah, they all just ended up going dry on me, so that's why I ended up using like a fine tip black Sharpie instead, and ended up using that for most of like the smaller parts on the swords and him as well. So yeah, that's how that turned out. But yeah, man. And so that was pretty much it. And then I also got a I forgot to bring that thing down here, but basically I got a silver Sharpie to color in. Where is his alternate? Here we go. So this is that Dino Action White Ranger sword, the extended version. So I did, obviously the same paint apps as the other one. And then for the extended part of the blade, this silver part, I used a silver Sharpie. You can probably find that at like Target. It'll probably be in like a 3 or 4 pack. And then, so yeah, I used a silver Sharpie for the blade right there. And yeah, you can see all the paint applications on it. It's not the cleanest. I definitely, was fuzzy in some spots, especially like that black line down the middle. But I was like, hey, it's cool. It is what it is. I'm not gonna spend like 100 years trying to get this thing perfect. But yeah, those are basically all the paint applications that I did for that. All right, so there you go. So there's his new Drago swords, and so yeah, I decided to use the Dino Action White Ranger swords because in the end they're just better. They look better because the sculpted detail is still there, and not only that, size-wise they're just a lot better, because it came with like a 5-inch scale figure. So They might be a little bit on the small side, but at least they're not quite as big as like the Legacy sword, because those were just kind of a little too big in my opinion. A little too much on the big side. I'm trying to get this little, okay, there we go. There's like a blue speck on one of the Drago swords. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put this sword back into his holster. Okay. And then, actually, before I do that, I guess I'll show you what he looks like up close. Obviously, I've got the Trent head on him right now. I'm going to swap that out momentarily for his actual helmet. But yeah, so here he is up close. And again, like the paint on him, not like perfect by any means. It's definitely like kind of fuzzy in certain spots, but I tried to be as like clean and accurate with it as I could. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So, you know, all the white and the black is in there. You can see the stripes are obviously more prominent now in his suit, and I really, really like that. I think it just gives him an overall, you know, more edgy look, which is what I really like about this costume. This is one of my favorite suits in all of Power Rangers and Sentai, so I tried to get it, you know, as close to accurate as possible. But yeah, you can see all the paint applications on him. I even, you know, repainted the alternate hands and stuff that he comes with, which I'll show you in a sec. But you know, the ones that I have on him are the ones that I'm probably gonna use, like have on him most of the time. I don't really plan to swap them out too much, but yeah, here's a back, like the back of him. I wish I had like a rotating base. I was trying to get like a figure rotating base to really, so that you guys could just see him like rotating as I talk, but didn't have time to really find one and pick it up. I even got the paint in the morpher as best as I could. So here it is up close. And yeah, I have like the toy of the morpher, and so I kind of just use that as like a reference. So I put like, you know, the white where it should be. I use my silver sharpie for like the silver parts towards the tip here, like on the bottom of it, in that little circle. And then I used, you know, the red sharpie to get in like the button on it. I used probably like a black sharpie to do the black stripes on the morpher, like right there. And then like the gold Gundam marker to get like the little gold part right there. And on the top of the fin, like the little fin part of the morpher as well. So hopefully you can see all that in there. Yeah, I tried to be as clean as possible. The morpher actually got like, again, that Mod Podge sealer had made it like really dirty. And it actually ended up making like the fin part of him like green at some point. Like I don't know why it turned green, but at one point it turned like so gooky that it actually got green on top. So I kind of tried to scrape that off as best as I could and went back over it with, you know, the gold, and I think it turned out, you know, looking a lot better and pretty good. Even better than I hoped. So that's really good. But yeah, there he is, man. That's pretty much my custom. Real quick, I'll swap out. Here, I'll show you the. Nah, I'll save time. I'm gonna swap out the head, so I'm basically going to take off the Trent head real quick. Like that. And pop on the Dino Thunder White or Abarekiller head sculpt. And there we have it. Okay, a little bit of the black came off right now, but that's okay. Probably just need to do one last spray on him, but here he is with his new helmet on. So for the helmet, I took the corrected helmet from Hasbro and I tweaked it just a little bit. So I'll show you up close here. Make sure there's plenty of light on it. But yeah, here it is. Here's his new helmet. So I basically kind of use like white paint to kind of add like this little white dot to the end of like, you know, his fin, the black fin, because originally they had it coming all the way down. If you look at like reference photos from Google, you'll see that like the white part of his helmet actually like kind of comes all the way down to the visor, and the black should actually like stop a little before that. So in order to kind of create the illusion for that, I just put a little bit of white paint there. And then, you know, those black lines that stick up off the top of his visor right here. I feel like originally Hasbro had the lines coming back too far. They were like coming back like way back here, where you can see I have like that white paint. So I kind of went over that, put white paint to try, you know, cover that up basically. And then I redid my own lines with probably like the micron pen or the sharpie, and basically just kind of drew in where they should be. And it's basically, if you want to do that, I feel like ultimately it gives him a much better look, and he just looks more edgy when you do that. But if you need like a reference as to like where to place those lines, all you really got to do is look at his helmet. You can see how he's got like this kind of like heart shape or like teardrop type thing coming off both sides, like on each side of the fin on the top of his helmet. And basically you just want to kind of like trace like the outside of that little sorry about that, y'all. You just basically want to trace the outside of that like little teardrop piece, and just kind of have it coming back like as far as like, you know, that much basically on each side. And that's how you kind of achieve that show accurate look for his helmet. So yeah, there it is. There he is with his newly modified helmet. And I think he looks pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. What was I gonna say? Something I wanted to say about, oh yeah, the sealer. So yeah, I forgot to show you the final sealer that I used. Where did it go? Here it is. So thanks to the D*01 channel, I was able to find this Tamiya color. And so, you know, obviously I was looking for a better sealer than Mod Podge. I didn't want to risk using the Mod Podge again and, you know, have them become a nasty mess. So I was looking up some better sealers to use. And I saw from the D*01 channel that he was comparing this Tamiya color with like, what do you call it? Hobby Lobby Premium or something like that. And apparently these are like two really good sealers. Like they're actually pretty similar to each other, and he was just kind of like testing out which one was better, or, you know, he kind of did like a comparison video. I'll try to put the link for that in the description as well. And yeah, this will give you like a nice clear matte finish, like a flat finish for your figures, and it's a spray on obviously. And so his tutorial helped me a lot, because he basically showed me like how much to spray. I didn't need a lot. And he showed me at what distance to spray, which I think was very important. He basically kind of like measured, he took a ruler and measured out, you know, 12 inches from the figure. And then he said, you want to spray probably about like six inches in. So about like halfway. And so I did something, you know, pretty similar to that. I might have had it like back a little bit farther just to be safe. But yeah, I just put like, you know, several spurts of it, you know, sprayed them like a few times from the front. Try to get like the sides a little bit too, as much as I could, and then the back as well. And yeah, and so I put that's what you see on him now. You probably can't even really tell that there's like any like top coat on him, because it's, you know, I sprayed it so lightly and it's a clear coat. So, you know, I made sure to spray it on light this time.